The lawyer's voice droned on, but I'd stopped listening after the first 5 minutes. My father's will reading had become a circus I never auditioned for. To my son Marcus, I leave the sum of $230,000, along with the family business, Caldwell and Sons Manufacturing. I watched my younger brother's face light up like Times Square on New Year's Eve. Beside him, my mother squeezed his hand, tears of joy streaming down her carefully made-up face. My Uncle Robert clapped Marcus on the shoulder. Even my father's business partner, Gerald Hoffman, looked pleased. The lawyer cleared his throat. And to my daughter, Sophia, here it comes, I thought. Maybe the house, maybe some stocks. I'd worked at Caldwell and Sons since I was 16, stayed late, learned every aspect of the business, got my MBA specifically to help modernize our operations. I leave my collection of vintage watches. According to YouTube analytics, 99% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, you'll help support the channel and never miss fresh content. Valued at approximately $8,000. The room went silent for exactly 3 seconds. Then Marcus snorted. Actually snorted. My mother dabbed at her eyes, but I could see the corners of her mouth twitching. Uncle Robert didn't even try to hide his smirk. That's it. My voice came out smaller than I intended. The lawyer, Mr. Pemberton, looked uncomfortable. There's a letter. Your father requested I read it aloud. He unfolded a single sheet of paper. To Sophia. You've always been headstrong and independent. These watches represent time. Perhaps you'll finally learn to use yours wisely and find a husband who can provide for you properly. A woman's place is in the home, not the factory floor. Marcus understands business in a way you never could. Trust that I know best. Dad. I felt like I'd been slapped. 27 years old, and my father's final message to me was that I should have focused on finding a husband instead of helping build his company. Marcus couldn't contain himself. He laughed. Not a chuckle, but a full, bellowing laugh that echoed off the mahogany-paneled walls. Oh my God, Dad was savage even from the grave. Sophie, you really thought all those years of playing businesswoman would pay off. Marcus, my mother said, but she was smiling. Be kind to your sister. I'm serious, Mom. She gave up dating, gave up having a life. And for what? $8,000 in old watches? He turned to me, still grinning. No offense, sis, but you should have listened when we all told you to focus on what women are actually good at. I looked around the room. Mr. Hoffman wouldn't meet my eyes. Uncle Robert was checking his phone. My mother was fussing with her pearls. No one was going to defend me. No one was even surprised. I worked for this company for 11 years, I said quietly. I increased operational efficiency by 37%. I landed the Merrick contract that saved us during the recession. You did what Marcus told you to do, Uncle Robert interrupted. Let's not rewrite history, Sophie. Marcus has been running things for the last 3 years. That was a lie. Marcus had been given the title of Operations Director 3 years ago. Yes, but I'd been doing the actual work while he took credit and golfed with clients. Everyone in this room knew it, but apparently, everyone had agreed on a different story. I see, I said, standing up. My legs felt shaky, but I managed to stay upright. Congratulations, Marcus. I hope the company thrives under your leadership. Oh, come on, don't be dramatic, my mother said. You're acting like we've wronged you somehow. Your father provided for you your whole life. Show some gratitude. Gratitude? For being erased, for being dismissed, for being reduced to a punchline in my own family. I walked out of that lawyer's office with my head high, even though inside I was crumbling. In the parking lot, Marcus caught up with me, still chuckling. Hey, no hard feelings, right? He jangled his new car keys, a BMW he'd bought that morning, apparently confident about his inheritance. Look, if you need money, I'm sure I can find you something at the company. Receptionist, maybe? You've got a nice phone voice. I looked at my baby brother, the golden child who'd coasted through life on charm and mediocrity, and something inside me crystallized. Not anger. I was beyond that. Clarity. No thank you, I said. I think it's time I found my own path. His grin widened. Your own path. Sophie, you're almost 30 with no husband, no kids, and now no job. What path is that exactly? I didn't answer. I got in my 12-year-old Honda and drove away, watching him shrink in my rearview mirror. That night, alone in my apartment, I finally let myself cry. Not because of the money, though $230,000 would have changed my life. Not even because of the company, though I'd bled for it. I cried because my father's final act had been to tell me I wasn't enough, that everything I'd accomplished meant nothing because I'd had the audacity to be born female. The next morning, I boxed up the watches. They were beautiful, Rolexes, an Omega, a Patek Philippe. I took them to a reputable dealer who offered me $12,000, not 8. I took the money and did something I should have done years ago. I started over. I applied to 3 companies in the manufacturing sector, targeting mid-sized firms that needed operational overhaul. Within 2 weeks, I had 2 offers. I chose Meridian Manufacturing, a family-owned business that was struggling but had good bones. The owner, Janet Reeves, was a woman in her 60s who'd built the company from nothing and was looking for someone to help her modernize. "Your resume is impressive," she said during my interview, "but I have to ask, why did you leave Caldwell and Sons? You were there over a decade." I'd prepared for this question. My father passed away, and the new leadership wanted to take the company in a different direction. "I'm looking for a place where my contributions will be valued." Janet studied me for a long moment. "Your father was Richard Caldwell." "Yes, I knew him, good businessman, but—" She paused delicately. "Old-fashioned in his views." "That's a kind way to put it," she smiled. "Well, Sophia, at Meridian, we care about results, not gender. If you can do what your resume says you can do, we'll get along just fine." I could have hugged her. For the first 3 months, I barely slept. I audited every process, interviewed every department head, analyzed every cost center. Meridian was hemorrhaging money through inefficiencies that had accumulated over decades. But unlike my family's company, which had been resistant to change, Janet gave me free rein. "Fix it," she said simply. "I trust you." Those 3 words meant more than my father's entire will. I restructured the supply chain, renegotiated contracts with vendors, implemented a new inventory management system, and streamlined the production floor. By month 6, we'd cut costs by 22% without laying off a single worker. By month 9, revenue was up 31%. Meanwhile, I heard through the grapevine that Caldwell and Sons was struggling. Marcus had apparently spent $50,000 renovating the executive offices and another $30,000 on a team-building retreat to Cancun. The merit contract, which I'd carefully nurtured, had been lost when Marcus missed 2 consecutive meetings with their CEO. My mother called me once during this period. "Sophie, darling, we haven't seen you in months. Marcus is hosting a dinner party next week." "I'm busy," I said. "Busy? Doing what? Have you found a job?" "Yes." "Oh." She sounded surprised. "Well, that's good. Where?" "A manufacturing company." "Not another factory, Sophie. Really, at your age, you should be focusing on—" "I have to go, Mom. Give my best to Marcus." I hung up before she could finish her sentence about what I should be doing with my life. A year after my father's death, Janet called me into her office. "Sit down, Sophia. We need to talk." My heart sank. Even after all I'd accomplished, part of me still expected to be dismissed, diminished, discarded. "I'm making you VP of Operations," Janet said, "along with a 40% raise and profit sharing. You've earned it." I sat there, stunned. VP of Operations, at 31 years old, at a company that valued me. "Janet, I don't know what to say." "Say yes. And Sophia, I'm grooming you to eventually take over this company. I don't have children, and I need someone I can trust to maintain what I've built. If you're interested." If I was interested in running a company, in proving that every person who'd ever doubted me was wrong, "Yes," I said, "absolutely, yes." That evening, I allowed myself a small celebration. A nice dinner, a bottle of wine I'd been saving. I didn't call my family, I didn't post on social media. I just savored the quiet satisfaction of being seen for who I truly was. But the universe, it seemed, wasn't done with the Caldwell family drama. 18 months after my father's death, I got a call from Mr. Hoffman, my father's former business partner. "Sophia, I need to talk to you. It's about the company." "I don't work there anymore, Mr. Hoffman." "I know, and that's part of the problem. Can we meet? Please? It's important." We met at a coffee shop downtown. Mr. Hoffman looked like he'd aged a decade in 18 months. His hair had gone completely gray, and his suit hung loose on his frame. Marcus is running the company into the ground, he said without preamble. We're 6 months from bankruptcy. I sipped my coffee and said nothing. The board is in chaos. Half the senior staff has quit. We've lost 3 major contracts. The bank is threatening to call in our loans. He leaned forward. Sophia, I know how you were treated. I know it wasn't fair, but that company is your father's legacy. My father made it very clear what he thought of my contribution to his legacy, I said quietly. He left me some watches and a letter telling me to find a husband. He was wrong. Mr. Hoffman's voice cracked. God help me. I should have said it then, but he was wrong. You were the best thing that ever happened to Caldwell and Sons. We all knew it, but we went along with his outdated ideas because it was easier than challenging him. And now you want me to fix the mess. I want you to consider coming back as CEO, full equity stake, complete operational control. We'll buy out Marcus's shares. Does Marcus know you're here? Mr. Hoffman looked down at his coffee. He's in denial about how bad things are. He thinks he just needs more time, more capital, more of the money my father left him. He's gone through most of it already, the house, the cars, He trailed off. Please, Sophia, at least think about it. I thought about it for exactly 3 seconds. No, Sophie, that company represents everything that tried to make me small, every person who told me I wasn't good enough, every time I was overlooked for my brother. I don't want it, Mr. Hoffman. I don't need it. I have something better. What could be better than your family's company? I smiled. Self-respect. Mr. Hoffman left looking defeated. I felt a twinge of sympathy. He'd always been kind to me, in his passive, non-confrontational way. But I didn't waver. Some bridges are meant to burn. 2 months later, the news broke. Caldwell and Sons was filing for bankruptcy. The articles in the business section were brutal. Mismanagement, poor leadership, failure to adapt. Marcus's name was mentioned repeatedly, never favorably. My mother called sobbing. Sophie, you have to help us. The company is everything. Your father built it from nothing. And he left it to Marcus, I said. I'm sure Marcus can handle it. After all, Dad said he understood business in a way I never could. This isn't the time for bitterness. I'm not bitter, Mom. I'm just busy with my own career. Your career, Sophie, this is your family. My family. Made it very clear I wasn't part of the business. You all laughed when I got those watches. You thought it was hilarious that Dad left me nothing. So forgive me if I don't rush to save you now. You're being cruel. No, Mom, I'm being consistent. You taught me that women should know their place. Well, this is my place, far away from people who never valued me. I hung up. My hands were shaking, but not with anger, with liberation. The bankruptcy proceeded. Caldwell and Sons was liquidated, its assets sold off to pay creditors. Marcus, I heard, had to sell the BMW and the house. He moved back in with our mother. Uncle Robert stopped returning their calls once the money dried up. I didn't gloat. I didn't send snarky messages or show up at family gatherings with a smile. I simply continued building my life, one deliberate choice at a time. At Meridian, we were thriving. Within 3 years of my arrival, we doubled our revenue and expanded into 2 new states. Janet began transitioning leadership to me, teaching me not just the business, but the art of ethical leadership, something my father never understood. A company is only as strong as how it treats its people, Janet told me. Not just the people at the top, but everyone. The moment you forget that, you've lost. I implemented profit sharing for all employees. We offered full healthcare benefits, including for part-time workers. We created a scholarship program for employees' children, and we thrived. Because when people feel valued, they give you their best. I was 34 when Janet officially retired, and I became CEO of Meridian Manufacturing. The company was now worth $45 million, and we employed over 300 people. I'd proven, beyond any doubt, that I understood business just fine. My mother found out through a business journal article. She called me for the first time in over a year. Sophie, I saw your picture in the Business Digest. CEO? You're a CEO? Yes, Mom. A long pause. I had no idea you'd done so well. You never asked. Another pause. Marcus is struggling. He's working retail now. He's not doing well, Sophie. And I worry about you, so far from family, with no one to take care of you. I take care of myself, Mom. I always have. But you're alone. I'm not alone. I have friends, colleagues who respect me, a life I built on my own terms. But no husband, no children. I laughed, surprising both of us. Mom, I'm the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. I employ 300 people. I've built something meaningful. And you're still worried about whether I have a husband? I just want you to be happy. I am happy. For the first time in my life, I'm genuinely happy. I'm sorry that doesn't look the way you thought it should. She started to cry. I'm sorry, Sophie, for how we treated you, for laughing when your father left you those watches, for not standing up for you. I see now. I see what we lost when we pushed you away. It was the apology I'd needed years ago, but I'd grown beyond needing it. I appreciate that, Mom. I do. But I can't go backward. I can't pretend the last few years didn't happen. I understand. I hope someday you can forgive us. I already have, I said, and realized it was true. But forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting. It doesn't mean going back. We said goodbye. I knew we'd probably talk again, eventually. Maybe even rebuild some kind of relationship, but it would be on my terms, as equals, or not at all. A week later, I received a package in the mail. Inside was a letter from Uncle Robert. Sophie, I know I have no right to ask anything of you, but I wanted you to know that I realize now how wrong we all were. Your father was my brother, and I loved him, but his views about women were from another era. We should have challenged him. We should have defended you. Instead, we laughed. I laughed at you when you deserved applause. I'm sorrier than words can express. I don't expect forgiveness. I just wanted you to know, Robert. I folded the letter and put it in a drawer. Maybe someday I'd respond. Maybe not. The apologies, while meaningful, didn't change what had happened. They didn't erase the pain or the years of being diminished, but they did confirm what I'd always known. I'd been right, they'd been wrong, and eventually, even they couldn't deny it anymore. 5 years after my father's death, I attended a manufacturing industry conference in Chicago. I was on a panel about operational excellence, sharing strategies that had made Meridian so successful. The room was packed, over 500 people, all there to hear what we had to say. During the Q&A, a young woman raised her hand. Ms. Caldwell, what advice would you give to women entering male-dominated industries? I thought about that lawyer's office, my mother's pearls, Marcus's laugh echoing off mahogany walls, the watches that were meant to be an insult, but became my starting capital for a new life. Know your worth, I said. Not the worth other people assign to you, but your actual worth. And when people try to make you small, don't fight them. Don't argue. Don't beg for recognition. Just build something so undeniable that their opinions become irrelevant. The room erupted in applause. After the panel, dozens of people approached me, wanting to talk, to network, to learn. I felt a tap on my shoulder and turned around. It was Marcus. He looked terrible. Thin, tired, wearing a suit that had seen better days. But his eyes were different. Humbler, sadder. Hi, Sophie, he said quietly. Marcus, what are you doing here? I'm working for a consulting firm, junior analyst. They sent me to take notes at the conference. He gestured at his lanyard. I saw you were speaking and I wanted to hear it. We stood in awkward silence for a moment. You were really good up there, he said finally. Everything you said about operational efficiency, I recognized some of it from Caldwell and Sons. Strategies you tried to implement that we shut down. Ancient history, I said. No, it's not. Sophie, I destroyed our father's company because I was too arrogant to admit I didn't know what I was doing, too proud to ask for help, too stupid to realize that the person I'd mocked and dismissed was the one who actually understood how to run things. Marcus, let me finish, please. He took a shaky breath. I laughed at you when you got those watches. I made jokes about you needing to find a husband. I took credit for your work and then crashed the company when I actually had to lead it. And I'm sorry. I'm so, so sorry. I looked at my little brother, the golden child who'd lost his shine, and I felt something unexpected. Compassion. I forgive you, I said. But Marcus, you have to forgive yourself too. You were raised to believe you were entitled to things just because of your gender. That wasn't your fault. What you do now, knowing better, that's what matters. He wiped his eyes. I don't deserve your kindness. Maybe not, but I'm giving it anyway. I pulled out a business card. If you're serious about learning this business the right way, send me your resume. I might have something entry-level at Meridian. No special treatment. You'd start at the bottom and earn your way up. He stared at the card like it was a winning lottery ticket. You'd give me a chance? After everything? Everyone deserves a second chance, Marcus. What they don't deserve is a free pass. I touched his shoulder. Think about it. I walked away, feeling lighter than I had in years. The weight of resentment, carried for so long, had finally lifted. Not because they'd apologized or because karma had punished them, but because I'd built a life so fulfilling that their opinions no longer mattered. That night, back in my hotel room, I opened my laptop and looked at photos from Meridian's last company picnic. Janet was there, retired but still involved. My executive team, the production floor managers, the office staff, 300 people whose lives were better because of the company we'd built together. I thought about my father's letter. A woman's place is in the home, not the factory floor. I smiled. My place was wherever I decided it should be. And I decided on the CEO's office, with a factory floor I'd transformed and a team I'd empowered. The watches were long gone, sold to fund my fresh start. But my father had been right about one thing. They did represent time. Time to stop seeking approval from people who would never give it. Time to stop trying to prove myself to those who'd already decided I wasn't enough. Time to build something new, something mine, something that reflected who I actually was rather than who others thought I should be. Marcus never sent his resume. 6 months later, I heard he'd enrolled in an MBA program, paying his own way with his junior analyst salary. My mother called occasionally now, our conversations brief but civil. We'd never be close, but we'd reached a détente. Uncle Robert sent a check for $8,000, the original appraised value of the watches, with a note that said, "This doesn't make up for anything, but it's a start." I donated it to a scholarship fund for young women in STEM fields. As for Mr. Hoffman, he retired shortly after Caldwell and Sons folded. He sent me a Christmas card every year, always with the same message. I should have spoken up. I'm sorry. I was 38 when Meridian Manufacturing merged with a larger company in a deal that valued us at $120 million. As CEO with a significant equity stake, I walked away with more money than I'd ever need. More importantly, I'd built a legacy of my own, one based on competence, integrity, and the radical idea that people should be valued for their abilities, not their gender. The merger was finalized on a Tuesday. That Thursday, I visited my father's grave for the first time since the funeral. I stood there in the autumn sunshine, looking at his headstone. Richard Caldwell, beloved father and businessman. "I forgive you," I said out loud. "I forgive you for not seeing me, for not valuing me, for teaching Marcus that his gender made him superior. I forgive you because holding on to anger was only hurting me, and I'm done hurting." The wind rustled through the trees. "But I also want you to know that you were wrong. About me, about what women can do, about what matters in business and in life. You left me those watches as an insult, as a way to tell me one last time that I wasn't good enough. But they became my liberation. They taught me that your approval, your money, your legacy, none of it defined my worth." I placed a single flower on his grave, not out of obligation, but because despite everything, he was still my father. I built something better than Caldwell and Sons ever was. Not bigger at first, but better. Built on respect and equity and the revolutionary notion that talent has no gender. I employed hundreds of people. I changed lives. I proved that everything you believed about women in business was wrong. I stood there a moment longer, letting the last remnants of pain and resentment blow away with the autumn leaves. Rest in peace, Dad. I hope wherever you are, you've learned what I had to learn, that a person's worth isn't determined by their chromosomes or by someone else's limited imagination. It's determined by what they do with the opportunities they create for themselves. I walked back to my car, where my business partner Maria was waiting. We were celebrating the merger with dinner, the executive team, the managers, the people who'd helped build Meridian into something special. "You good?" Maria asked as I slid into the driver's seat. "Yeah," I said, and meant it. "I'm really good." We drove away from the cemetery, leaving the past where it belonged. Ahead of us was dinner, laughter, and tomorrow, always tomorrow, full of possibility. The watches were gone, sold years ago for seed. Money, the inheritance I'd never received, no longer mattered. The family business that had collapsed without me was someone else's cautionary tale. What remained was simpler and infinitely more valuable. the unshakable knowledge that I was enough, had always been enough, would always be enough, not because someone finally said so, but because I'd proven it to the only person whose opinion truly mattered, myself. And in the end, that was worth more than $230,000, more than a company, more than all the validation I'd once desperately sought. It was worth everything.